Max just made a joke about Declan being an alcoholic before the recording
What?
started.
Come
Um,
on, man.
Hey, I had to fill the audio. Um, what's up, everyone?
The
We are
context was not there.
we are so. Oh, he took a
The
drink.
context
Sorry.
is you
Here's
watch Morbius.
yeah. Ben, you take it away from there. We
Oh
watched
man,
Morbius this week. Here's Ben.
you know, Morbius is honestly a cinematic masterpiece in a lot of ways.
I feel like I'm talking to Scorsese.
I have never seen a movie that manages to be so bad on so many fronts. They actually had a good thing going in the beginning.
No,
I
they
think
didn't.
like that was the best part of the movie, though. Like a good thing, meaning it was not terrible.
You mean the trailers you saw before the movie started, Ben?
No, I mean like the very beginning. Where he
Oh, the
goes,
opening credits when they
yeah,
showed
the
the
opening
Columbia.
credits.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And then it's like, oh, he's interesting. Oh, Costa Rica. Oh, cool, bats. And then it just devolves into. I'm not even.
I
sure.
will say the most entertaining part of my theater stay was when I watched the clip of Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse in the trailers. That was really cool and exciting.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
reminded me of characters who I like Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. Unlike in Morbius, where that none of that happened, and all that. Like
I do have to give a quick
mhm.
Just note, this is less to do with the movie, I guess. But Sony needs to be shit on for their trailers and their marketing. They literally put in like more than half of the trailer are scenes that are not even in the movie. What the fuck is that?
Like
Yeah, it wasn't even like it was close, right?
And
It's not
no,
like they photoshopped
it's like
the
I'm
character
watching
out.
a different movie from
Yeah.
the trailers. Like,
And like
the trailer
the
made it
trailer
look kind of cool.
The trailer was just the first 3 minutes of the movie.
mhm.
It was Morbius, hand out in front of the cave.
Yeah.
Like,
And then the interesting stuff, though, they're like, oh, the vulture's in there. Oh, maybe it's in the MCU. Nobody knows. But then it's not. And they deliberately are like manipulating.
and we all
like,
go
cut
home
footage.
sad.
And let's not
They're
talk about
literally
the
using
most.
cut footage to manipulate their viewers to go watch this shit.
And let's not forget about the most important thing missing. When after he says, "I am Venom," he doesn't say, "No, I'm Dr. Michael Morbius at your service."
Like,
and I feel like I was cheated out of a great moment that would have honestly made the film better.
It would have made the
Yeah.
scene, like, honestly and genuinely, it would have made the scene better because it would have undercut a very, very action-heavy moment with a little bit of levity, a little bit of humor,
yeah.
and would have made it
Especially-
feel, dare I say, more like an MCU film.
And also it ties into a lot of what the kind of thing that the DC movies are doing right now too, which is being kind of weird and owning it, right? This movie could have been weird and a really good film and really interesting. They took it, so I don't know, there's so many ways that they crossed paths and just missed.
Instead, they leaned into another aspect of the DCEU, which is just excessive speed ups and slow downs in every action sequence.
like
They fell into that trope of we're gonna
Every
show how
single
fast
one.
a speedster is
Mm.
without actually showing them how fast they are.
like I'll just say very quickly, Morbius is to paraphrase Will Ferrell's character from The Office, on a list. He can be put on a list of characters I don't care about at all. Like the main way I know Morbius, I'm straight up, is from the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. That's my only. I haven't read any of his comics. And
To be fair to Morbius, I have a friend who really likes Morbius. I think he can be a very interesting character.
And
Yeah,
B
yeah.
isn't.
Exactly. So it's
the problem with the main problem with the
Even
movie,
Batman.
like you can make anyone interesting. I mean, that was the Suicide Squad. Like they made a bunch of stupid characters interesting. You could do that. The problem is that the movie sucks. Like it's going in 5 different directions and it does all of them terribly.
Can I honestly say something like to you guys, like just straight up, like, why was the first like early scene set in Greece? Like, is Morbius Greek or something? Like,
No, that was where he could
No,
get
that was where
treatment.
the doc. Yeah, that was where the.
Yeah.
okay, so it's just like
But also,
Jared Harris, who's British.
Also, how fun is it that Matt Smith plays two different characters very recently that have Greek origins?
That's true. Oh my god! And of course, it's a reunion with Jared Harris.
Yep.
Oh my gosh! It's a full reunion of The Crown for all
yeah,
those.
I was focusing for our purposes, which is the only reason why I went to see the movie. I was focusing on as many aspects of filmmaking as I could, and the one that really stood out to me right off the bat was the editing, which was god awful, and not just in terms of like shot to shot, which there were plenty of jump cuts and weird editing choices, but the choice to have the opening in Costa Rica with the cave and Morbius in front of it, like trapping bats or whatever, to then go to the flashback and introduce Milo. It's like, why not have it's not really sequential, but like, why not have your childhood first and then show what he's doing as a reaction to his illness?
Or at least make the length of the scenes proportional where we're getting some sort of information in each one, right? Like the first scene is literally just him tricking a bunch of Costa Rican guides into taking him to the vampire bats. Yeah. And then the next scene is the longest one we get, and it's like 5-6 minutes of just talking about kids.
Yeah.
Milo.
Where Greek sociopaths beat up a or like mock a like genuine crippled child, and all that, because as we all know, everyone in Greece is like a sociopath who just mocks crippled children whenever they get the opportunity.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's like,
where did that come from?
Did they think that like every single child is just the devil incarnate? Like
who
yes.
who was like, haha, look at the freaks up there, and then
it comes back, right?
It's like they're reading it, and it's like, haha, look at this is so stupid. It's like, this is like, who acts like this? Who is this person?
Jared Leto.
That comes back, right, with Milo. Milo all of a sudden just takes a complete 180. I mean, sure, he was kind of like, sort of a jerk, but sort of lovable. But then all of a sudden he turns into a fucking serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
He's completely down with it. I don't think that the effects of the serum turn you into like just a complete psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe you have thirst for blood, right? But like, seems like Michael Morbius retained some of his humanity. So was Milo just this crazy to begin with? I guess it's sort of insinuated, like he had that like violent streak because he hit the people with his
I guess.
I just want to say
it seemed a little extreme, especially when he went and killed like everyone like close to Michael and close to him who had taken care of him. It's like
yeah.
Like I will say, sort of building off a little bit of your point, I feel like the one part of the movie that I sort of liked, and even then liked, is like not, it wasn't great, but it was like the one part of the movie that like reached enjoyable. And it was when like Jared Leto and Matt Smith were just sort of walking around with just talking about.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I like the way that way. That was
like, it was kind of like, oh, this is sort of like two people who've known each other dealing with this like disease, and just,
it was like a buddy comedy with
triples. It was kind of entertaining. It was just for a moment, and then it went away, and then it was.
That comes back to the editing question, where every scene felt too short. You don't really get the development in each story beat with editing, every scene to end with a jump cut to the New York skyline, which happened at least a dozen times in the movie. I counted.
I feel like it was cut down.
I had to make it more enjoyable for myself.
Like, I feel like I
played a game.
Like, I think it's the case where the movie was bad, and then they were trying to save it desperately in the editing room, but failed completely, as you could see from the final product.
I
Considering
actually
it's been
think
delayed 8 times.
I
Like it
think it's
wasn't
something else.
proofread.
Oh yeah.
I think it's something else.
Ben with a
And
theory.
look, the Suicide Squad had a lot of the same issues. The original cut, right?
Mhm.
There were random. So in this movie, there are random scenes like with the comedy. All the comedy just seemed like it was just injected in, like somebody cut out something and put in some jokes here, and then cut other stuff. Like it's half going in like the dramatic direction, half going in the comedy direction. You get like Detective Martin making weird jokes at awkward times all the time. Like, I mean, it's just like tonally all over the place. I don't know whether I'm supposed to be like taking this seriously or not. So I honestly think that the studio must have done something. They were just
Yeah.
trying again. They're
That-
like, "Oh, look at Spider-Man. It's funny. People are looking to us to make a Spider-Verse."
No one's looking to you to do that. Like that's the bottom line. You've got Venom, you've got Morbius, you've got Kraven the Hunter, now you've got the Vulture. It's like and we're gonna get into that those two post-credit scenes in a minute.
Oh my god.
But like you're trying to build up this universe and it's just not working. I mean, I liked the first Venom film. We've talked plenty off camera about the second Venom film and how that film just anyway, the third film in the Sony universe of Marvel characters, or whatever it calls itself, it first of all, exact same plot as the first two Venom movies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like the story is the exact same, except with less Reed Scott as Dan,
this is the
and less Tom
Which
Hardy.
is, I mean, it's a lot. That those are two big losses.
all they have is Spider-Man, so they need to use all these villains.
And I feel like Sony
Right,
doesn't
and they
even
can't-
control most of the creative decisions in the
They
Spider-Man films either.
Well, right, because the Spider-Man films that we've seen from Tom Holland
or if
are
they do
actually
and they're
good.
purposefully making these other movies bad, then props to them. Because like that's
you
a
see,
great
you
marketing
can't-
ploy.
You can't make these films bad and say in the trailer from the studio that brought you Spider-Man No Way Home and Venom.
True.
You can't try to have it both ways. And Sony this film is such an example, such a great example of a film that's made for the sake of making a film.
Yes.
Sony,
yes.
like you were just saying, Max, Sony has all these, or Ben, or whoever was saying it, Sony has the rights to just the Spider-Man characters. And so they want to build on the success of Spider-Man in the MCU with how great Tom Holland's trilogy has been. So they go with the characters that they have: Venom, Morbius, Kraven the Hunter, now I guess the Vulture, just so that they can say, we're gonna have them fight Spider-Man at some point. Oh, we're gonna do the Sinister Six.
So
They're just
I learned
teasing it all,
something.
but the films aren't good enough to warrant getting there. Like, I don't know if I would want to see, like, obviously I'll see Kraven the Hunter because I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. But like, I don't know how much more of the Sony verse I want to see
I don't want to
after the
see
last two
anymore.
films.
Yeah.
But I learned something recently, which is I don't know if this is just Spider-Man or any Spider-Man property, but Sony, to retain the rights to Spider-Man, they had to make a film every like 4.5 or 5.5 years, which is why after Spider-Man 3, they made The Amazing Spider-Man. And then they made The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but apparently they just like rushed this stuff. It's like, oh, we got to make a film by this point.
Otherwise, the rights revert.
It just seems like they don't really care at all. And it seemed like there probably were a few people that were very passionate to make a good Morbius movie, but they probably had no actual creative control to make any film that they wanted to, because I mean, just looking at this film, it does not look like the vision of just one guy with a bad script. I mean, even if it was going to be a bad movie, it looks like just a mess. Like people just took parts and grafted them together to make this monstrosity. It's like half romance, half comedy, half, you know.
It's like
Hey, there's some like
horror. There's
horror
parts.
There are horror elements, horror
There's
thriller.
just random parts. And it's like none of this fits together. You can't make every genre in one movie.
Like it's like if Morbius somehow could have been made into like a compelling character, maybe, but it just like maybe it's Jared Leto being too Jared Leto or something like that, or and also the script, but it's just like he's I just never cared about
the thing about Jared Leto in this film is that in an interview that he did at the film's premiere, he talked about how it's like playing 3 different characters all rolled into one. You know, you've got sickly Michael, you've got ripped Michael, and then you've got Bat Michael. Mike Bat for short. Bat Mike. And you know, I can see the appeal as an actor to want to play different sides of a character, both literally and figuratively. You know, but like the way that he, what you were saying, Declan, the way that he played these characters is that, you know, sickly Michael actually felt like a well-rounded character. He had motivation. He had reasons to do what he wanted to do. He had relationships. He felt like a real person. Ripped Michael felt like a caricature of like every single, and I hate to compare Morbius to 2 of the great supervillains of our era, but scientist who experiments on himself and goes terribly wrong. Are we seeing Norman Osborn? Are we seeing Otto Octavius? No. It's just not like Jared Leto has had good performances in his career. He's an Oscar winner. This is just such a far cry from anything good he's ever done. And I'm like, I get that, you know, he was an executive producer on the film. He probably had a lot of pull in how the story went once, you know, it went through reshoots and edits and all that. But why would he take the role to begin with?
That's a good question.
He got paid a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
I looked it up. He got paid like $18 million to make this film.
Wow,
not a bad paycheck.
It's more than Downey made on the first Iron Man film.
Admittedly,
and you can see why, right? Like his performance really, you know, deserving of that. Same with his other performances, like in the Suicide Squad. I could really see why the studio really wanted him on this. I guess he executive
You're talking
producer,
about the 2016 Suicide Squad, right?
Yeah.
Where he played the Joker.
As opposed to the Suicide Squad. They just made it the same title so that people forgot about that one. When they Google it now, they'll get it's the good one.
So let's talk for a minute here about the reason why a lot of us were interested in the movie, which was the, you know, almost quasi bait and switch for inclusion of Adrian Toomes.
Yeah,
I wrote about this in my Letterboxd review, but my 1.5 star Letterboxd review. Hey, Declan gave it 2 on his first go, so
I mean that's way too high.
It was technically not as bad as the film Ultraviolet, so my instinct was, well, maybe it's better than. I guess that makes it a 2, but then it was like,
you can rank them all half star, just like me.
That doesn't actually like justify it not being a 1 out of a 1.5 out of 10. So yeah, fair point.
But anyway, the CGI on the multiverse break, the CGI on Adrian Toomes appearing in the cell, the story of the first credit scene where he's like, oh, he's going to get released from prison because he has no criminal history in this universe. And then the script of the second credit scene where he was like, I think we should team up and
what was that?
and do some good. And
what's up,
Morbius
Doc?
is like, intriguing.
Like,
and it's like I get the reason that you want to put, you know, asses in seats by getting this big name character, this beloved character. Michael Keaton's performance in Homecoming is a great performance. I love that performance, that villain. You want to get that draw for the audience. Why'd you have to do it so badly?
Like, can I be real with you? Why was Michael
No,
Keaton,
don't be real with us. Be as completely fake as you can.
Why was Adrian Toomes' first reaction, man, I hope the food is better in this joint and not...
He was talking about in this universe, not in this prison.
Of course, but also, why wasn't it?
Also
oh my
just a
God, where is my
quippy
wife and
one-liner.
daughter, whom I love and committed many crimes to help out?
It really doesn't give a shit. He was
no.
set as like a family man, and he's just like, oh, what's
I'm
the
in
food
another
like here?
Do I care about my wife and daughter?
And you can tell that at the end that they definitely didn't get Michael Keaton on set
Oh my God,
for the second credit scene.
Like, it was almost like, are you
There's no way, because
No
there's just no way, and that's so funny to me because that means they ran out of budget because they were too cheap to make a good. They were too cheap to budget
make
out
a good
one
second
good
mid-credit scene.
Yeah,
unless
it's all the
they, like,
reshoots.
filmed it during quarantine and all that, and they just figured, we'll just like put a mask.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that, because the way his voice sounded like we all sound over Zoom.
Yes,
yeah, it did.
A little bit. He sounded weird. Now, I mean, it could be again his mask, but like,
yeah, it's the mask.
I don't like what.
How did he get the Chitauri materials to make
that
another
wasn't even
Vulture
Michael
suit?
Keaton.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you, George.
that's the bottom line.
What?
It's.
I mean, nothing really made sense in this movie. To
This
be
is
quite honest.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm just thinking of the special effects in one scene. It was when he was in his lab for the first time after taking the original serum, and he didn't know that he needed to drink blood. And it looks like he starts glitching. If you look at it, it looks like his legs are skipping frames. And I remember pulling up my glasses because I noticed it, and I needed to know, like, did I see that right? Did I miss his leg actually moving? But I don't know. I mean, that kind of sums up my opinion on this.
Can I also just say, okay, I feel like I missed something. Wouldn't Morbius had been a person of interest? I thought they were implying that he was on the run when he first got back to his lab, but then people suddenly start talking to him like it's completely normal, and it's like, oh, so they aren't looking for him. And then of course he gets accused of vampire murder.
The whole sequence of him being hunted was just terribly done from top to bottom. And Declan, I'm sorry to interrupt, and I know you got more to say, but I just got to jump in because you reminded me of something and I don't want to forget. And that's the news producer in me looking at the lower third chyrons when they were doing the news reports. And the biggest one that stuck out to me is Dr. Michael Morbius strikes again, or is it a copycat? First of all, no real news producer would write something like that. Second, anyone who's ever heard the English language would know there would be a comma in there. Dr. Michael Morbius strikes again,
way too long
comma,
for a news report.
or is it a copycat? And third of all, or is it a copycat? At least have some fun with it if it's in a movie, and say, at least, is it a copy bat?
Ooh.
Come on.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm just laughing.
Jordan's really good at his job.
I'm in my second semester of film school. I go to film school, by the way, and I've been a news producer for 2 years, and I can write a better Morbius movie than the one that we got from this. This is the worst movie I've ever seen in a theater. Thank God I used a Fandango gift card and not used my own money on this.
Congratulations on that.
I'm just laughing still at just the idea of a copycat.
bad.
All of them are drained of their blood. What the hell?
Like, is he a vampire? Like,
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
it's
call him a
copy bad.
vampire
Yeah,
killer,
murder.
do you think he's not actually a vampire, or do you think he's a real vampire? Like, what do they mean by vampire killer?
I don't even know. I mean, yeah. Oh, the other thing that I just couldn't understand for the life of me.
Bringing
whole
Martine back to
Milo-
life.
Well,
Yeah.
I want. Well, first,
Yeah.
Ben, finish your point.
Finish
she-
your point, Ben.
I don't know. She drank blood or something.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Milo.
But the Milo Lucian thing, I don't understand. He's just saying like, "Oh, my name's Lucian," and he just calls him Milo. And then there's this scene, where he's got to fix the thing with the ballpoint pen, which apparently is an introduction to medicine that just gets you into any medical school anywhere. You just gotta know how to use the pen.
Boom, boom.
Oh god. But then he says, Lucian. And then at the end they bring it back. But he just goes by Milo. It's just like, oh yeah. After that life or death scenario, he doesn't start calling him Lucian. I can't understand what's going on with the name.
It's a good one. Like, I think they're trying to set up
random.
something, but they didn't actually set it up. Like,
They really
maybe they were
didn't
like,
think about it. It's just like, oh, well, he'll call him Lucian this time. This is emotional.
like,
But
given that he goes by Milo into his
he
adult
calls
life,
himself Milo.
like,
And the doctor. The doctor takes
clearly
care
a
of him.
nickname that he likes and supports and just goes by. So it's like, why would he call him Lucian? But speaking of Milo and Lucian, can I tell you the part where I just literally laughed out loud a little bit in the theater?
Please
No,
do.
we're gonna move on instead.
Fuck you. It was the scene where randomly Morbius and what's the female doctor's name?
Dr.
Dr. Martine.
Bancroft.
Bancroft. Thank you.
Bankrupt,
They start kissing, and then like suddenly cuts to Milo like standing like 80 feet away, but somehow
It's hundreds of feet away.
like hundreds of feet away.
He's
and
using his
there's
weird,
His
ear,
earworms. His earworms.
what it looked like.
It's what it looked. It's what it
and
looked
he
like.
saw the, and it's like it was so ridiculous to see him just like looking at them.
I'm gonna creep on you guys.
It's,
Yeah,
God.
keep kissing. Yeah, that's my childhood
So-
best friend and his girlfriend.
Like,
Yeah,
sort of
I'm a
like-
bat now.
like,
So I think Martine. Let's talk about Martine for a minute since you bring her up.
Hmm.
They did set up her interest in blood. She, cut her finger and then licked it, and they hung on her face for a second.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't even
But-
think about that. But, yeah.
And I realized that in the moment that something's a little weird here. Otherwise, why would they be hanging on her face like that? Why would she lick her own hand when it's bleeding? And then, she gives her blood, her life to Morbius so he can fight Milo Lucian.
oh,
and
is
then-
that what's supposed to be happening?
Yeah.
think so. It's
Oh,
like make it count. Like
okay. For some reason,
Yeah.
I thought it was like she bit his lip
And then
and
she
drank a
just
little bit of his blood, and that somehow makes her a vampire or something.
I guess that's just how it works.
But why would none of the other people they attacked, both Milo and Morbius, have had the same, I'm going to become a vampire now?
Like,
instead?
that's what I was thinking. Are we gonna get a Jurassic
didn't-
World Dominion
they
type
just didn't
situation
choose
where
to
the
become a
humans just have to
vampire.
coexist with the vampires, or what? Like,
That's a valid
Oh.
question. This is a valid question.
It's like you got a bunch of writers in a room and they all just forgot what to do.
No, Ben, I think you had one writer in a room and no one questioned what he had to say.
no,
I don't
you're
know,
wrong,
man.
George. You're wrong.
Let me look
They
this
had
up.
one writer in the room and 5 others
Let's look at
beating
the
him with
screenwriters.
sticks.
Like,
And this is what came out.
And at
And
the
this is what
same
came out.
time, there were like 8 studio executives who were like giving him notes while he was typing out each page on the typewriter and having
Brilliant.
like
This is
and having to fix it
fantastic.
while the sticks were hitting him. Like, that's what was going on.
So we got two writers here. They write together. They're known for writing films like Dracula Untold, The Last Witch Hunter, and Gods of Egypt.
Oh, so this is Marcus and
was that
McFeely?
Gods of Egypt.
Yeah, Gods of Egypt. I remember that.
Oh
That
my
was also
god.
terrible.
I never even saw it, but I just heard such like I heard it was so
Chadwick
bad.
Boseman was in it.
It doesn't matter. The movie was terrible.
No,
There were
I'm just
lots of
saying.
great-
I just remembered that he was in
Yeah,
the
there was
movie.
Nikolai Coster Waltz.
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Nikolai
Jamie
Coster
Lannister was in it. He was Horace.
like,
Gerard Butler was in it.
oh my god.
Yeah, it can have a great cast. It's not going to make it a great movie.
Yeah, the movie was awful. It's
It
just
was
so random.
Horrible. I wasn't defending the movie. Sorry if that was a
Yeah,
All
loss.
right, so since we've clearly devolved into something somehow less coherent than Morbius,
I don't know that that's possible.
it's it's hard to do. Why don't we give some final thoughts on Morbius so we don't spend any more time of our life thinking about it?
It's really bad. Those are my final thoughts. I can't add anything else.
It's like it wasn't even funny bad. It was just like half the time it was just boring, like which like I feel like made it worse. Like it was just like like I mean there were some parts that were incomprehensible, but like half the time it was just like dull, I don't know. I just don't recommend it.
I think Declan touches on something really important, which is there are bad films that can be entertaining. They're so bad, like the badness just makes them good. But this film is bad because
question mark maybe asterisks on that. But
the main point is this film it's so boring. There's nothing going on. All the plots are terrible. And there's lots of different ones. There's so many different genres going on. Nobody seems to know what movie they're in. They all think they're acting in different ones. Jared Leto thinks that he's acting mostly in a dramatic film, but makes a bunch of jokes. You got Detective Martin, who thinks he's acting in a Marvel film, I'm pretty sure. Tyrese Gibson is like really serious, but also has some quips now and then. And then Detective Martin is just like a complete, like dramatic, like romance all the way through. And all the plots are terrible. It's really immaculate in how bad it is. And it is honestly an affront to my integrity as an audience member that they made these trailers acting like any of these scenes were in the movie. Acting like this had anything to do
full
with
circle.
the MCU.
They showed Spider-Man and graffiti in
They
the
showed
trailer.
Spider-Man.
yes,
They showed Adrian Toomes like actually in the film, like, oh, we're in touch.
let's keep in touch. Like,
Let's keep in touch. What's up, Doc? There were two different scenes with them in it. And none of them were in the movie.
oh my god, I wonder. Oh god, I wonder if they shot it, but then they weren't expecting. It got delayed so often that they weren't expecting No Way Home to come out by the time they premiere it. So they
No,
just.
I know what happened, which is that they wanted to shoehorn it in to something like, oh, maybe Marvel will let us do this, and then Marvel probably got wind of this and they said, get the hell away from us. And then they had to rethink their lives.
I can see that.
But yeah, I mean, it's really kind of awful, shameful, and desperate on the studio's part to like make so many trailers. All of the trailers have all of these scenes that don't even happen in the movie. It's not just like one trailer; it's all of them. And I think that's almost worse than the terrible movie that they made.
So I think the bottom line is, if you were thinking of going to see Morbius in a movie theater, save your money, go see Everything Everywhere All at Once, go see Ambulance,
Go see
go
Dog.
see
Literally see anything else.
anything else. That's, tickets for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness went on sale this week.
If
Go
someone
see
comes
that.
up to you and says, I will pay you $30 to go see this movie, decline.
No, if someone offers you $30 to go see the movie, take it, because that's like getting paid to work a shitty job.
Not a job I would work.
All right. With that being said, we will see you guys next week. Have a good night, everyone.
I
Good night.